Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. Let's meet your hosts, Chris Angel and Michael Maher.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Referrals Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, as always, Michael J. Maher. Michael J. Maher. I can't help myself.
Listen,
Michael.
You can call me anything you want as long as you call me for dinner, brother.
Michael Maher.
Or call me for referrals, I guess is what I should say.
We actually say that mayor, like the mayor of referrals, maybe. The mayor of referrals.
Hey, the digital mayor, right? The mayor of a community, right? Yes. The mayor of a city. So the mayor of a community that we built on a foundation of love, generosity, and appreciation, right? So all good. Welcome.
Right.
High energy today. I like it. Way to duck back. So the love is pretty. By the way, a lot of people are listening to this. Yeah. If you have not gone to YouTube and checked out the actual videos from these, you are missing out. You have got to go over to Referrals Podcast.
Because of Michael's shenanigans. Michael's shenanigans are worth the view. Well, Michael, today we have a guest, Stacey Brown Randall, and she is a referral expert. Super excited to talk to her. Hello, Stacey. Welcome to the Referrals Podcast.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So awesome. Did you two ever meet, or how did we get so lucky to have Michael? How did we get so lucky to have Stacey Brown Randall on our show? Yeah,
so I've admired her from afar for the last few years, and she's had a couple of books come out that were near and dear my heart with the title and the philosophy, which is generating business referrals without asking for referrals. And I've literally been on this platform for 20 years talking about, do not ask for referrals. Asking for referrals literally repels referrals. If you are in a business where you are there to make people feel awkward, then you're going to be out of business. And you should not be in business to make people feel awkward. We should be in business to make people feel awesome. And every interaction I've had with Stacey has been, I feel awesome. And that's kind of the preface of her entire program is generating business referrals without asking. And she does it in a very simple, no nonsense way that makes a lot of sense and people understand it quickly. So
I love it.
I've been very excited for this episode for a long time.
Well, we get to dive right in. I mean, can I start with, because I don't have as much background, Stacey, can you give me some backstory to who you are, how you stumbled into this referral thing without asking? Yes, please. Referrals without asking.
Yes. Well, thanks again for having me on the show. It's interesting when people always say, how do you come up with a process like this? I don't know many people who set out to do it. I think that there's something that happens in your journey along the way of building a business or being in sales, and all of a sudden you discover something because you needed it. So when people say, like, how did you create this 5-step process to how we can get referrals without asking? I always say out of sheer necessity and the grace of God, because it wasn't something I intended ever to do. But I had a business. It was an HR consulting firm, and it would make it for almost 5 years before it would fail. And I had big name clients with my consulting firm, like KPMG, BDO, Snyder's Lance, Coca-Cola Bottling Consolidated, Ally Bank. Like, I worked with some big name clients. But eventually that business would fail because I never figured out how to keep that pipeline of prospects full in an ongoing way when you're in a small business and you're doing the work and you're also bringing in the sales as well, or bringing in the clients as well. So when that business failed and I had to dust off my bruised ego and go through that failure process, and I started reflecting back on, okay, what went wrong? And there was a couple of things that I would say were keys to my business failing. But one big one was that I really didn't figure out how to touch business development every day. And for me, it's about touching something every day. If I have to do it every day, on some level, I just have to enjoy it. Like, I know we can do anything for a year, but I wanted a business that was going to survive 5, 10, 15 years. So for me, it was like, okay, how am I going to grow this business? So I started my second business. It was a productivity and business coaching practice. And it went well in the beginning because I was like, I am going to be laser focused on filling the pipeline. And after that first year, I kind of looked back, okay, where did all my clients come from? And I realized it was through referrals. And I'd gotten over 112 referrals that first year as a business and productivity coach. And I remember thinking, but I didn't ask. Okay, great. Now how do I get more? And most of the advice out there is, well, if you want some, go ask. And then the worst advice is, and if you're not willing to ask, there's something wrong with you. But if you ask anybody, hey, do you love to ask for referrals? Like 99.8% will be like, no, this is not something I want to do, right? I mean, I know there are people who do love to ask, and they're a rare breed and they're great. And I'm not here to change them. They're also not my people. But for the people who want referrals but don't want to ask, there wasn't a lot out there. So for me, I was like, well, I got to figure this out then, because business failure number 2 is not something I want to be putting in my bio. So I really started figuring out, okay, like, how can I do this referrals thing? I looked back over that first year and said, well, what did I do? And I realized as I started figuring out what I had done over that first year to have success, then I started like replicating that. And then my small business clients started saying, what are you doing? You're growing like crazy. You're raising your rates. Like, what's happening? I'm like, well, I'm getting referrals. And they're like, teach us how. And then that's when I started realizing, oh, this is a process. The more I taught it, right, the more I refined it. And then my students, or I call them students inside my Growth by Referrals programs, they started having success. And so I took that and turned it into a program. And now I'm in 7 different countries all over the world. And everything's changed and shifted in that regards. But it really came from something I needed. And then I just stuck with it long enough to figure it out and then refined it as I taught it to others. And now, of course, it's helping lots of people generate referrals without asking.
So good. How did you stumble in? Like, what did you discover as you went back and looked at, wow, I had referrals and I didn't ask? Like, how did you on purpose replicate that moving forward? What did you do?
Well, in the beginning, it was really simple things that I noticed. It was like, hey, when they would refer me, I would do the thing your mama always taught you, which was to write a handwritten thank you note, right? Like, oh, imagine that, right? The simplest.
That, Michael. Yeah.
It doesn't cost any money, right? So at first it was the little things. And then I realized who I was getting referrals from. And then I realized I had relationships with these people. And I didn't just keep in touch with these people. I worked really hard to stay top of mind. And then I started paying attention that when I did things that made me more memorable and meaningful and really came from a place of gratitude and being authentic. And over time, I realized that that was overall creating a referral experience for what these people would come to be my referral sources. And so as I kind of unpacked that, it was obviously coming from a place of being genuine and authentic, but it was always coming from a place of gratitude. But then just trying to be different, not just sending that text message that says, hey, how are you? How's business? Or, hey, I haven't seen you in 6 months. Let's get together for coffee. It was much more intentional to that. And then over time, I realized, oh, and I'm not really asking for these. That's great. And I realized that what I was doing was planting referral seeds. And that language piece has become a cornerstone of really what I teach when people are like, what do I say so I can be normal? Like at the end of the day, we all just want to be normal.
Right.
You know, and I mean, I know we're all unique, but on some level, when we're hanging out with other people, we're like, we just want to sound normal. And so I noticed that that was a big part of what I was teaching was it's not just caring for your referral sources and these relationships, but it was also doing it in a way that allowed you to be memorable and meaningful, top of mind, and to be considered and thought of in a kind of referral way because you're planting these referral seeds.
Yeah.
So is the first step to the 5-step process a spirit of generosity or a spirit of gratitude? Or you know, we talk about this 5-step process that is your subtitle to your book. And so what's step 1? And if you don't mind, do you mind stepping through these 5 steps and sharing it with the viewers who want to get referrals? You know, this is Referrals Podcast. It's not the Michael Maher podcast. It's not the Love podcast. It's Referrals Podcast. So it's what is that first step to getting referrals and generating business referrals without asking for referrals? Is it the spirit of gratitude or generosity?
So, you know, it should be, but it's not. I'm one of those people that I very much like, let's get to the point, and I'm very direct. So I started building out and teaching my steps. I went straight to the heart of like, this is step 1. Now over, 5-6 years of doing this, I always have to give the disclaimer that says, okay, I'm going to tell you what step 1 is, but I need you to also know I'm assuming some things. I'm assuming that you are referable. I'm assuming that you have a sticky client experience and that you do good work and you take great care of your clients. So I'm assuming that you have, that's like step 0, right? That you have that client experience that's worthy of referrals. I'm also assuming that you are thankful for people who help you. So I'm assuming, to your point, Michael, that you have that spirit of generosity. And so from that perspective, I always tell folks, I'm assuming you do great work and you're worthy of referrals. And I'm assuming that you actually are not dead inside and you care about people, and that this would be a process you would be very comfortable going through. And I say those two things because my philosophy stands from this idea that I believe everyone deserves referrals. We're just not owed them. So we need to be willing to do some work. And step one picks up after those two assumptions and starts with, okay, now here's the work we need to do. So step one is you need to know who is referring you. It's identifying your referral sources. That is step one. And I always tell folks, for some business owners, it's the messiest step because they don't have great data records in their business. And I always tell them, if you'll go through this process of identifying who your referral sources are, it's my guarantee to you, if you do it well, and you then from this point forward track the prospects that come into your business and track those that are referred and who referred them, you never have to do step one again. But step one basically comes down with, let's look at your clients. Let's go back a couple of years. I'll go back as many years as you're willing to go, but you've got to give me 2 or 3 years if you've been in business that long. If you've been in business less than that, obviously you're not going to have that same kind of data, but go back 2, 3, 4 years, look at your clients, unpack where they came from. Maybe you have this in a CRM, some kind of client relationship management tool. You can pull it from a database or out of the cloud, but look at where your clients came from and look for those that were actually referred by another human. Because the way I define referrals in the process I teach, referrals only come from another human. So I need a first name and a last name, unless of course your referral source is Madonna, and then you can just give me a first name. But other than that, I'm talking about a human.
Yeah. So step one is who, and I love that. Absolutely. I mean, identify the who's that are responsible for the what's and the referrals in this case. And so it's almost like the step 0 is the why. You know, it's almost like, all right, the why, which is, and this goes back to Simon Sinek's, start with why is, why, which is, you know what, I do care about people. I do have a good heart. I do have a good experience that I deliver, and I care. And then step 1 is, all right, who's already resonating with your message? Who are your, what we call ambassadors, the Army of Ambassadors logo, and, who speaks highly of you and refers you willingly. And Stacey, on that, in your discoveries with your business owners, have you found that their best referral source is a business owner, or is their best, let's even step back before that. Have you found that their best referral sources are a client, or someone who has never used their services, or a friend? Have you ever broken it down to that? And one quick reason why I asked that question is early on in my career, my number 1, number 2, and number 3 referral sources had never used my services before. They were referring me because they knew that I was going to take care of their friend because of how much I cared. So I just wonder if what you've discovered and you've worked with a lot of small business owners.
And, a lot of small business owners in a lot of different industries as well, B2B and B2C. And what I typically find is that business owner or that business is going to fall into one of 3 models. So the first one is just based on what they do, it just is more natural that their clients are going to be their top referral sources. And that's maybe because they're spending more time with their clients, they have more opportunities, right, to show they care, to plant referral seeds kind of with their clients. Then the other type of business is actually going to be generating, they're not going to get referrals from their clients. A lot of times it has to do with what they do. So think about the personal injury attorney who's like, I don't really want to get referrals from my clients and remind them of the worst time of their life, right? Will they get a referral from a client if they know someone who needs them? Of course, right? But they're like, that's not really my strategy. And so for them, they're going to focus on trying to get most of their referral sources to be centers of influence, which are, contacts, a subset of our network, the people who actually know what we do, so they can actually refer somewhat relevant people to us, but they don't do what we do. So there's no conflict of interest. And they typically come across who our ideal client will be. So it's usually going to be either clients or centers of influence, or a lot of businesses will be hybrids, which means they get referrals from referral sources who are clients and centers of influence. So I'm a hybrid model. I'm going to get referrals from clients and from centers of influence, which are people who've never been a client of mine. But to your point, Michael, just like your top 3 ambassadors or referral sources, they knew who you were and what you stood for, even though they had never worked with you. They knew enough to trust you to know that because you cared and you delivered great work and you had a reputation, right? That you were someone they were willing to put their reputation on the line for, which is effectively what our ambassadors, our referral sources do for us. And so it's either going to be, I have found there are other types of referral sources than just clients and centers of influence. The third type is family and friends. And I always tell someone when we're going through identifying their referral sources, I always say, look, if you know your aunt can refer you lots of people because you're a mortgage broker and she's a realtor, then she can be a family family member that's a referral source. But if it's your mom who referred you one neighbor one time 5 years ago, family, that your mom may not be a great referral source. Maybe
my mom. Oh my God, that's totally my mom, right? One referral over the entire life that I've been her son, which is.
Oh, your mom's doing better than mine because I have yet to get a referral from her. I'm going to tell her that. And then the fourth kind is actually strangers. And there are people who you don't know, but your reputation precedes you in a very good way that they know of people that have said hi, have had high remarks about you or said good things about you. And so they'll refer to you. And this happens a lot. People are like, I don't even know who this person is. And so there's really 4 types that I find. But what I tell people when you're following my 5 steps, we're going to focus in on your clients and then your centers of influence.
I love it. So we're starting with who, which is fantastic. And the biggest thing with starting with who that's so amazing is we now know how to spend our very valuable and precious resources of time, energy, effort, and money. We know who to meet with, right? Because now we know the who. So what's step 2?
Well, perfect. Yeah, I had to tell you a quick story about one of my students who went through my Growth by Referrals program. His name is Gray. He is a CPA, and that was his biggest aha. Like, obviously, he loved the fact he started on the program. He was like 3 months in. He'd already brought in 20 referrals, which he had never done before, and he was like, "This is awesome." But what he loved even more, being the managing partner of a CPA firm for like 20 years, he was like, "I got time back. Like, all of a sudden, I now know who I need to be focused on." And I can stop spending my time at all these networking events and all these let's meet up and see if we can help each other conversations. And I can just focus on the people who actually bring business to me. And so I do think, like, to your point, that discovery of, wow, I can actually get time back by knowing how this works is really, really valuable. But step 2. So step 2 is actually the simplest step of all, but it is the one for some reason I get the most pushback on. And we've mentioned it. Right. But it's step 2. And most people are like, God, it feels really out of place, but it is in its place for a very intentional reason. And that is that you have an immediate follow-up process that you follow when you receive a referral. And you can only imagine the only correct or right type of an immediate follow-up process in my book. And what I teach is it's a handwritten thank you note. Yes, you may send the email, send the text message, make the phone call, but you will still send a handwritten thank you note. And most people are like, okay, why is this step number 2? And I think it goes back to that place of gratitude. Like, why should I send you more referrals if you can acknowledge and recognize and thank me for what I just did, for the referral I just sent to you? Why should I give you more, right, when you can't thank me for the one I just sent you? And there's so many times I'll talk to people, or they'll message me on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, and they'll be like, you'd be surprised how many people I refer that I never hear from. And I'm like, it's mind-boggling. The amount of people I talk to who are like, give me referrals, how do I get them? And then the number of people I talk to are like, why are people thanking me for them? It's like this massive disconnect. But it's true. And it is a handwritten thank you note. And some typical questions I get about this is, what if my handwriting stinks? And like I said, I'm very much a straight shooter and direct. So my response back is, I don't care. Like, I respect the fact that your handwriting stinks. I just need you to write slower, because you need to write the card, not your assistant, not a third-party robot that's going to send it out on your behalf and make it look like it's some kind of ink. Like, if there's any part of this process that needs to be you, I think the whole thing needs to be you, but if there's any place you have to show up as authentic as possible is when you take 32 seconds to sit down with a card and write a handwritten thank you note, because the impact it makes on the receiver, right, is usually never forgotten. And that impact lasts. It has that memory runway where they just remember you differently. They don't always remember why they remember you so well, because it was 6 months ago you sent a thank you card, but they think about you differently and they feel differently about you. So that's step 2.
I want to explore that for a second, because I feel like we're talking about handwritten note and a thank you to a referral, but I feel like the underlying mindset trickles down out into everybody's life in all sorts of places, not just asking for referrals. Like, what's happening under the surface, in your opinion, that is like, I want referrals, but I can't take 32 seconds to write a handwritten note. Like, what's happening there?
So I think it's one of those things where we think about referrals from that. It's a business growth mechanism. It's like the social media campaign and the ads I'm going to run, or it's like the direct marketing I'm going to do, or it's the networking I'm going to go to. We think about it in such a, what I would refer just kind of like short-term hit, like it's like this gain that I'm going for. But we forget that referrals aren't like any prospecting or marketing activity you will ever do. I always tell folks, I was like, we don't look at referrals like they fit within prospecting with that cold calling and cold emailing and networking you do. And we don't look at referrals like they fit into our marketing plan, like they're your online or your SEO or the PR you go after. They are their own plan, and your ability to have activities around referrals is because your mindset is different. But we think of referrals like lead gen, right? We think it's like just lead generation. I just need to get some of those. But what we don't recognize is they don't happen the way prospecting activities, cold calling, marketing activities, our website generate potential leads for our business. They're entirely different. And I think that's the piece that people miss. And I always tell folks, it's like, when you're doing prospecting or marketing activities, you're talking to the prospect. You're trying to get the prospect's attention. You're trying to get them to see your marketing message 7 times so they'll remember you. You're trying to get them to say yes to a meeting with you once you've met them at a networking event. But the reality is when we're talking about referrals, we don't talk direct to the prospect. We talk direct to the referral source, to the ambassador, right? To the person who's going to bring prospects to us. So everything is different. But for so long, we have grouped referrals in with our sales strategy from the perspective of marketing and prospecting. We think about it like that. And we forget we got to step back and think, right, this is actually somebody putting their reputation on the line, not just someone going to Google and searching and happening to find me and filling out my contact information on my website. Yeah. The whole transaction, the whole process about it is different, which is where I think sometimes that disconnect comes in. Like we're like just thinking about referrals. We want them. And then we realize, but you got to do some things different if you want to actually receive them.
I really hear a mindset shift from if my normal activities in prospecting are task-oriented things, the mindset shift is moving into a relationship-based mindset versus a task-oriented mindset. I'm moving into like, this is a human. This isn't like a thing to check off my list today. This is actually like a person to make a connection with. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if you'd add anything to that, but that's what I hear in that.
That's what I love about step 2 is that we're taking the business owner from transactional to relational, and maybe even starting them into the process of transformational, right? So I don't know if I've ever heard anybody, 7 levels of communication, straight from 7L, 7 levels of communication. Handwritten note is its own level. And I'm not sure if anybody has emphasized the importance or explained it better than you just did, why I made handwritten notes its own level in the middle and the gateway to the influential zone. And it is that important. It is the power of it too is that it is thought plus action. You thought about someone and you took action on their behalf and sent them the note. And when you are not in their presence and you thought about them and then took action on, that's the power of the handwritten note, is you're like, oh my gosh, they thought about me and cared enough to take action on their behalf. Well, what is a referral? A referral is they think about you and then they take action on your behalf. So you're modeling the behavior that you want them to take when they are out and about and somebody talks about a type of referral that you could use or need. So that's one of the most powerful things. And there's like 1,000 gems in what you just delivered, Stacey. 1,000 things in there that is so powerful. The other one is what you appreciates. If you want something to go up or grow or go to the next level in your life, you need to appreciate what you have of that in your life. If you want more great relationships, appreciate the great relationships you have. If you want more referrals, appreciate the referrals you're getting. And for every get is a give, right? For every get is a give. And too often we get into get mentality is, all right, we got this piece of business. Now we need to get stuff done for that. And Stacey, I have to tell you, you're a rare breed in what I've read is that so many people think the client is number one, but you don't, and neither do I. Who is number one in a referral-based business?
It's a referral source.
It's the referral source. Everybody's like, the client is number one. No, referral source is number one. Yeah.
Working by referral is not some fairy tale world. It's real. I've seen it. And you can too. Invest in yourself by learning how to run your business by referral at Michael's upcoming live event. It will be a day filled with hands-on, how-to, low to no-cost strategies that you can implement in your business right away. Learn how to run a business by referral that not only feeds your family, but feeds your soul. Go to www.gengenevents.com today. That's www.gengenevents.com.
They're the golden egg that could turn into a golden goose. But which is more important, the golden egg or the golden goose? And we know the golden goose is more important, and that is the referral source. And that's exactly what you're talking about here is we're going to create a referral source system, an ambassador development system, and it's going to start with a handwritten note, and that's step 2. And I also love it because you're also kind of imprinting affirmations here is, listen, I know you're not getting referrals yet, but we're going to put a referral appreciation program together even before you're getting referrals. Well, what happens when you have a referral appreciation program is you get referrals, right? Because you are sending it to the universe and you're giving off this vibe. You can't wait to get your first referral because you have this great follow-up system in place. I love it.
You know, it's really interesting. I had somebody say they decided to hire me. So I have 2 ways that I work with people, and one's VIP. So there's more interaction between me and them. And we were having a call one day, and we were very early in, and he had kind of been dragging his feet to get started. But he was like, I got to tell you this, Stacey. He's a financial advisor up in New York City. He goes, I got to tell you this, Stacey. I talk about you. And I talk about the fact, with other people in the business that I'm doing this or whatever. And I've gotten like 4 referrals already. And he goes, this is amazing that your system's working. And I was like, well, technically you haven't started. You've just been putting it out there in the universe that you are willing to appreciate referrals, and the universe is kind of paying you back. Like, that's a little bit of how it works. I'm like, I don't call my system magic. I don't think that does it justice, and I don't want to ever leave it up to that. But I do think exactly to what you say. It's like, what we put out there, right, is exactly what usually comes back to us if we're putting it out there in the right way. So he was, and I appreciate the fact he was like, you already got me 4 referrals. I'm like, not exactly, but I'll take it. But really, I now need you to get started on the program, because he had just been putting it out there. And I think when people make the decision to say, I'm going to get referrals and I'm going to do it the right way, then it really does start to work with them before they really ever actually put things into process. And I think that's a great thing to remember.
Because it feels so good. It just feels good. So they want to share it. And it is, you talk about it's not magic. And I'm so glad you said that, because there's people always like, where'd you get that referral? And they tell me, well, I got it out of left field, or I got it out of the blue, or I got it, it just happened. I don't know why. And it's like, no, there's no such thing as magic when it comes to referrals. There's no such thing as out of left field or out of the blue or accident when it comes to referral. You did something in your history that made you deserve that referral. So don't discount that. It is far more science than it is magic. You can orchestrate. So whatever you did with that person way back when, we need to just isolate it, figure it out, and then rinse and repeat. We need to continue to do whatever you did to create that referral happening. So step 2 is kicking some butt here. They're already getting referrals, just 2 steps in. And so how does that lead to our 3rd step?
So, and I just want to add to what you said about step 2 is I use the way to explain it as that Maya Angelou quote that says, you don't always remember what people say or what they did, but you remember how they make you feel. And that is the ultimate impact that I think a thank you card has. And it also is how we build step 3. We build it from that distinct quote that I think is so perfect about, we need to impact how people feel about us, but we don't need to make it about us. That's not the point. The point is to have a process and a plan in place that is truly all about them, that we are making it all about our referral sources. So step 1, you've identified your referral sources. Step 2, now you're going to write a proper thank you note every time you receive a referral. But what do you do in between receiving those referrals when you're trying to make sure that you can be top of mind, memorable and meaningful, and have some opportunities to plant some referral seeds? And that's step 3. And that is building out a plan, a strategy, right? An action, some steps you're going to take to actually connect with your referral sources. And I tell people this isn't about sending out a card every month, and this isn't about making sure that you're taking them to coffee every 32 days like clockwork. It's not any of those like keep in touch type formulas. It really is about being memorable and meaningful and being top of mind, which means this is the best thing. When you're memorable and meaningful and you stay top of mind, you can do less. You just have to make sure that what you do actually matters. So I'll give a great analogy or an example that people can really visualize. Now, I'm going to give an example of a gift, but I don't want anyone to hear, oh, I got to spend money and I got to send gifts to get referrals, because that's not my intention. I just know that this example is easy for everyone to visualize in their mind, but there are so many other things you can do other than gifts. It is not something that you like have to think, oh, I got to spend a bunch of money. I have lots of people who go through my program and they don't have any money to spend. So it's a matter of just making sure you're intentional about how you cultivate relationships. But this is the connection or the outreach you're going to do to those referral sources throughout a year, but you're probably only going to do it 5 or 6, maybe 7 times a year. And everybody has their own sweet spot to what that looks like and depends on what you do. But a great example I can give is actually from my past, and I have lots of them. I feel like I'm a treasure trove of these ideas because I've been doing this for so long. But one of my favorites is when you identify who your referral sources are, then you start to know things about them. Turns out that as a productivity and business coach in my past, my top referral sources, because it was also my niche in my business, were small business owners that were also parents. So when I laid out my referral strategy of how am I going to take care of these people, because it's about them, it's not about me, right? I looked at, well, would they expect to hear from their business coach, right? Or a business coach, because they're maybe just, they're referring to me, but they're not a client on Mother's Day or Father's Day. And no, they wouldn't. That has the ability to be memorable and meaningful. We call it minding your M&Ms inside the program. And so I sent a Wonder Woman water bottle to every one of my top referral sources on Mother's Day. And it just had it was a Wonder Woman's water bottle, had a very simple card that says, never forget you are a hero. But can you guys imagine that in the years since I sent that water bottle, can you imagine that any one of those referral sources forgot that I sent them that water bottle?
Yeah.
No, I would guess they still have it, still use it, or some of them don't use it and they have it in some place next to all the awards that they get at work. That's what I would guess, right?
A lot of them, their daughters commandeered it. So I would get a lot of pictures on social media. I need another one, Stacey. My daughter just snagged my Wonder Woman water bottle. Yeah. That's what happened to me. My daughter snagged mine. But to your point is that it was meeting them where they are, and it was letting them know how much I appreciate them. And it is amazing how when you do that and you do it at the right consistency and it doesn't feel like you're after something, how well these pieces work together. But what really makes this work from a referral generation perspective is that we have to tack on step 4, which is planting of the referral seeds, which is how we kind of use that thankful language and then making sure when it's appropriate, we're infusing in the thank you, right, for that idea of the referral seed being a part of that process. So I always say step 3 is the meat and potatoes. Right? We have to know what we're going to do on an ongoing basis. And you said earlier that wash, rinse, repeat, like that's how the model is built. I want you to wash, rinse, repeat it. I want people to build this plan and execute on it every year. And I want them to be like Amanda, who's an attorney, who's in my program. She's in her 6th year, and her first 5 years in the program, she hit her goal every year of like 25 to 30 referrals. And last year in her 5th year, she got 40 referrals. She can only take 12 cases a year. So for her, everything changed in terms of like how she grew her staff and adding other attorneys, and things started like just shifting for her, but she did it every year. She wasn't like a one-hit wonder. She didn't like, oh, I'm just gonna do this one thing and then I should have a referral explosion. Every referral explosion starts with a trickle. That then leads to a snowball if you cultivate it correctly, and then you can have your explosion. And so the idea behind that, when you look at this, is meat and potatoes is the outreach, the connection, being memorable and meaningful, top of mind with your referral sources. Step 4, that's the secret sauce. And that's actually what makes the meat and potatoes taste good or work in this example, where we're actually using the right language. So we're still showing gratitude, always gratitude and being authentic. But we're also planting some referral seeds. So there's a subconscious way that our folks think about us. And it's all done in a way that very much makes everybody feel normal. And like, I'm being thanked for actually sending a referral, which is the easiest way to send a direct referral seed, is just to thank for who they referred to you. But there's lots of different ways to do it. It's just a matter of understanding the language that really makes all the pieces come together and start working.
So step 4, just restate it, because there was a lot in there. Step 4 is to then do what? Plant the seed of?
Planting the referral seeds.
Got it. Yep. Perfect. And one of the ways to do that is to thank somebody for a referral. That's planting a seed, because we just acknowledged the referral that was sent.
Right.
Are there some other examples of planting those seeds?
Yeah. So you know what, let me give an example of what this looks like for anybody that can use, like, let's say tomorrow when they're headed out for a networking event. So this doesn't even have to be done within the confines of how we've described this referral strategy. Let me just give an example of one, like the most asked question when you walk into any type of an event, right? Particularly a networking event, but it could just be saying hey to your neighbor. It could be showing up at church. Is typically when you get going in a conversation, someone's going to say, how are you? How's it going? How's business? Right? It is a common question we get everywhere we go. And most people answer with, it's great. It's good. I'm so glad you asked. Thanks. And maybe we're telling the truth and maybe we're not, right? But like that is just our typical response. And I always tell folks, you're missing an opportunity to plant a referral seed. Now, do I think this referral seed is going to actually just like grow and bloom into the best bearing fruit tree that's going to give you tons of referrals? No, because you're doing this, you're saying this one thing maybe one time. And just like any seed, if you throw it on concrete, not really going to do anything. But if it happens to land in some fertile soil and then you take care of it, there's an opportunity to cultivate it into a referral. So the next time you're asked, hey, how's business? What I want you to say is, thanks so much for asking. Business is great. Now you have to be truthful here, but business is great. You know, actually, I just brought on 3 VIP clients in the last month, and each one of them was referred to me. It just makes life so much easier when my clients are referred to me. Don't you agree? And right there, we've started a dialogue about referrals. Now, do I think you're going to run off and think, oh, how many people can I refer to Stacey? No, I don't actually have that expectation. But I do know that if we have a good enough conversation about it, it's one way you start thinking about me. And then if you do refer me, right, and now I've got a process that I can kind of put you through to like tell you like, hey, you referred me, you matter to me. Thank you so much. I'm going to take care of you. And then they just feel like they're taken care of. But it's not this every week, every month thing where they feel like, are you after something? Like you have to do this correctly. You have to use the right balance and you have to come at it from the right place. Then we actually have a process in place for them. But it's as simple as just sometimes talking about it that gets a dialogue going that allows you to plant a seed. And, you know, you don't plant a seed every single time. You don't sound like a robot. You don't answer it the same way every single time talking to the same person. But it is that opportunity to just start talking about it and putting it out there. And there is some mindset shifts that happen to you when you start answering questions like that. And then, of course, it has the opportunity to plant a seed with somebody as well.
I love steps 3 and 4. You know, we've got people who are doing book clubs around the country on 7L and different things. And one of those groups is Tara Carter and Matt Farrelly in South Florida. And one of the first things they teach is the use of the Google alert, right? Which goes right in with your you know, it's the old clipping articles for your ambassadors or for your clients. Is the new age clipping articles is the Google alert. Well, literally, she had gone to the first book club, which is, they haven't even started reading the book yet, but Tara and Matt had explained, you know, hey, listen, when you meet someone, set up a Google alert for them with what you know about them so you know it's them when it pops up. Well, she happened to go to a networking event, met someone who was a former NFL player and was now starting a new business, and something popped up about his new business, and she sent the article to him by email and just said, hey, congratulations, I see that you're getting some press on your new business. Well, you know, this doesn't always happen, but it's the power of it is he called her over and he is actually selling his house, and that is out in the country, and he wants to move closer to where his new operations are going to be for his new business. And now, you know, they need to sell a house. So what started it though, even if you don't get that great of a response, the Google alert is free, and it goes right back into the whole thought of staying connected with referral sources. And what's amazing is how often I'm alerted by the Google alert. It's like, oh man, I haven't talked to Michael Carucci in Boston in a long time. And, you know, one of his networking events or something pops up and it's like a great reminder even to me that, hey, listen, I need to connect and send this alert to them. So, it doesn't have to be a gift. It doesn't have to be expensive. In fact, the less expensive it is, the more expensive it is, the more awkward the person who receives it is going to feel. Yes. So the fact is it needs to be small. But it's just this small thought plus action that kicks butt, which goes right into the planting of the referral seeds. And sometimes just thinking about them will plant the referral seed for you. I mean, when you sent the Wonder Woman and said, you are the hero, you didn't probably have to follow that with anything else. They thought of you, they knew what you did, and they know how to reciprocate the value. They're like, all right, you know what? When somebody comes to me that needs her, she's going to get my business.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even think about it like that. We would love to think that they do, but what they think in that moment is, wow, Stacey really cares about me. Mm-hmm. And when someone does something for us, or we know that they care about us, we can't help, because it's how we were designed, to naturally want to help back. Mm-hmm. Right? It's just, now again, like I've said, some people are dead inside and this does not apply to them. But for those that it does apply to, like it's that way of just kind of resting in their subconsciousness of someone that really cares about them, so that they'll never miss an opportunity when it's there and presented to them to obviously connect you with someone that could be a referral. And so I think that's the beauty of it as well. Like, yes, I know that every time I do something kind and generous, right, or just staying top of mind and memorable and meaningful for my referral sources, it's not a one-to-one. That's not what I'm expecting. But because I'm doing these things over the course of a year, and then every year, right, it's building those opportunities of how they think about me, and then they want to help. And I do too. When people do things for me, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I remember one time, and I'm not saying don't ever feel any obligation to send alcohol as a gift. It's a huge debate in my free Facebook group, Referrals Without Asking. And I'm like, we're missing the point if we're focused on this. But I did get the nicest bottle of wine delivered to me because I'd given a referral to a commercial real estate broker here in town. This was years ago. Nicest delivery of a bottle of wine, nicest bottle of wine. And I'm not even a wine drinker. It was really my husband who had to say, this is a really nice bottle of wine. I'm just looking at it going, is it sweet? Because if it's not sweet, I don't want to drink it, exactly. Right? Which every wine connoisseur on here is like, oh, there's something seriously wrong with that. But that's just me. And so, I'm telling you guys about it, right? And I remembered it from years ago. So my point is, it's just that idea of like, it's not necessarily like how often you do it, but it is the what you do that allows it to be memorable and meaningful. And then I just want you to be able to plant those referral seeds when you need to, so that they are subconsciously thinking about you in a particular way.
So good. Well, bring us home with step 5. So, let's land the plane here.
Yes. So step 5 is, I always say what we're building with step 1 through 4 is a referral experience, right? It's how we want our referral sources to feel so that they continue to refer us. But as very busy business owners and sales professionals, at the end of the day, what we need is a process. We need something that we can follow. We need something that actually stays top of mind. And so that we know, hey, I've got to do this. This is coming up. How can I get help from people? What does that process look like? And so it's all about unpacking your process. It's about taking out the pieces and systematizing it. It's about outsourcing what you can outsource, delegating what you can delegate, and then automating what you can automate, and really making it something. So, if I wanted to send a Wonder Woman water bottle on Mother's Day, I'm not going to have the same effect on Labor Day. It's just not. Right? Can't miss my opportunity. So it's about building the process and the system. And I don't teach it with any other special software. I'm like, can we just use your calendar? Right? We can just use Outlook, your email, whatever it is. But if you have a team, I'm going to show you how to get a team involved and how you can have them help you execute on this. You're still going to write those thank you notes, never going to give that piece away. But it's that idea of okay, step 5 is you built it. Now you've got to actually execute on it, because in this world, just because you build it, it doesn't mean they will come. So we actually have to execute on it and make sure we do it.
So I love it. And the beautiful thing here is, have you found that your business owners just are having a lot of fun executing what you're telling them to do versus the traditional sales techniques of kill, crush, close, overcome objections, corner, be super aggressive, play the loud rock music to start your calls, all that. Aren't you finding that they're just having a lot of fun doing? How fun is it giving awesomeness, having people feel awesome around you? And you know, it's you know, the toughest people to implement your strategy, our strategy, are the ones who have a sales background, because they probably burnt so many bridges, you know, trying to force people into buying things that, you know, they're going to have to start over with a whole new crowd, you know? And it really is a way for these 5 steps really give people a way for nice guys, nice gals to finish first, you know?
It does. And I think that's the thing they like the most about it, is it doesn't feel like sales. And I think that's one of the reasons why it worked for me from that perspective. I still tell folks, you need to know how to close these prospects, these referred prospects. You receive them, and there's a process that I teach on that too, to do it a very specific way, because they should be the easiest close you have in any given day. But I agree with you. I think people, and I say that there's 2 types of people that are really attracted to what I do. And a large majority of them are the people who go into business. They've got, you know, the letters after their name. They're selling their expertise. They're in relationship-based businesses. They are the realtors, the financial advisors, the attorneys, the CPAs, the interior designers, right? And they're selling themselves. They're selling their expertise. But they're a business owner because they like being the interior designer, or they like being the attorney, not the salesperson trying to get business in the door. And so the way I teach it, it's because it's what works for me, doesn't feel salesy, right? It's not slimy tactics. We have to be uncomfortable. It's like, oh, I just get to take care of people. Okay, sign me up for that. And to your point, Michael, on the other side of it, I have people who've usually been over taught how to sell, right? So it is a lot of those, like, think about my financial advisors, my property and casualty insurance folks, my realtors, right? Those folks have been over taught how to sell, and they're like, this isn't working, or I don't like it, or I need something different. And to them, I've been told it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, okay, it can look different. Now, I have to unpack a lot of what they believe and how they go forth, because they can say, all right, I get it, I'm never going to ask. And then I can watch them go through the process and get to a point and then be like, okay, now can I ask? And I'm like, have you been listening? No, you can't ask. No. And I tell folks, my process may take a little bit longer, but when you have the results that some of my students have had, you're going to be okay with it not, you know, taking a little bit longer and not going straight for the kill. Because it's when we go straight for the kill and we ask that we cut it off at the knees for it ever developing anything more with that potential referral source.
It's so funny. I have a gal who got 60 referrals in one day, and it's like, you can, you know, you can kind of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You know, you can lead a business owner to referrals, but you can't make them think sometimes, you know, and it's I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like she's like, now what? I mean, now what? I mean, it's like you have 60 referrals to follow up on. How cool is that? And she's like, I know, but what do I say? And I'm going to give you, and I'm going to give you the best closing technique ever. And it's just, you call them, you just say, so are you ready to get started now? And that's it. So you ready to get started? And that's your closing technique, right? And it's just like, it's amazing that, you know, I have a gal who generated 148 referrals. And, you know, she instantly went into panic mode. This was in 2 days, you know, and she went into panic mode as to, oh my gosh, 148 referrals. It's just like, hey, listen, chunk it down. Just go back to the ones who referred you the most and follow up with them. But you're right. Step 5 is so key, but it's, you know, probably success suicide starts to kick in a little bit. Is it's starting to work, and they're like, oh crap, it's starting to work. You know, this could actually work. I don't know if I want it to work, because then I'm going to have to work.
Right. Then I have to do stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I find that I was talking to somebody when we were first working together, she was like, you know, I get like 40 referrals a year. I'd just be great with like 80. And then we're like so many months in, she's like at 187.
There we go.
And I was like, are we panicked yet? She was like, I don't really think I talked to you about being panicked, because you'd probably slap my hand and be like, what's wrong with you? Like, it's working, go work it. But to your point, yes, some people always are like, well, I handle the success. I'm like, you know what? Let's get to the success first, and then we can figure out how to handle it. It's a much better way to go. And then instead of self-sabotaging our way on the way to success.
That's right. I love it. Stacey, this has been fantastic. We need to have her back, Chris. We need to have her back.
Such great energy. If people want to find your book, Stacey, it's called Generating Business Referrals Without Asking. It's on, where can people find your book?
Everywhere books are sold, online or in bookstores.
Perfect. And if people are interested in the kind of work that you do, how do people connect with you on social, on your website? Where do they go?
Yep. So you can find me on all the social media platforms under Stacey Brown Randall. And then my home base, of course, is my website, staceybrownrandall.com. And I always tell folks, if you kind of want to know where you stand with your ability to generate referrals without asking, just to take a simple 9-question quiz called the Referral Ninja Quiz on my website. You can just go to staceybrownrandall.com/quiz. It's all over the website if you just go to staceybrownrandall.com. Stacey does have an E. But answer those 9 questions and figure out which level of referral ninja you are. And then you'll get some great resources to kind of help you move up to that level I want you to be at, which is the Referral Ninja Master.
I took it yesterday.
Nice.
I took it yesterday. I was like, whatever the lowest thing is. I was like a referral ninja you'll never be, or something like that. I was like,
that's not a level. Well, how in the world would you not a master?
You couldn't sneak up on anything. You are not a ninja. It was, I think I was a referral ninja. I don't know, something. I was whatever, like referral, no ninja. I was a nanja. I think that's.
I think you just created a world. Well, you're either going to be a beginner, in training, or a master. And I tell folks, just remember your colored belt. And that's an easy way to know what you are. The master has the red belt.
My belt was invisible. What level? What level is the invisible belt? Because mine set back that normally we have this 7 or 8 email process that we follow up with people, but your results are such that we're going to drop you off our mailing list.
Did I just delete you from the list?
It was like automatic. It wasn't even my choice. It was your choice. You were like, you're just off the list. And it was just like,
oh, you are telling a story. You know that's not true.
Oh, I do know it's not true. But I did take the test. It took me like 3 seconds, 30 seconds maybe. And it was great. And it was full of a lot of great information. And the follow-up has been terrific as well. Just like this podcast. Stacey, great stuff. I've enjoyed every minute of this.
Thank you guys so much for having
Stacey
me.
For being here. Yep. Remember, guys, listening to this, if you want to learn more about what's happening at Referrals Podcast, go to referralspodcast.com. You can always look there for the downloads from every episode. And Michael, thank you. Stacey, thank you. Until next time, Michael, take care.